The sun was beginning its slow descent over the streets of Atlanta, casting long shadows across the pavement as Marcus Wright guided his sedan through the evening traffic. The air conditioning hummed softly, a welcome relief from the Georgia heat, and the radio played a low, soothing jazz melody. He adjusted his tie, loosening it slightly after a long day at the office, his mind already shifting toward the quiet evening ahead. As he approached an intersection, the light turned yellow. Marcus eased his foot onto the brake, coming to a smooth stop just as the signal shifted to red. The momentary pause gave him a chance to exhale, to let the tension of the day slip away. But then, in his rear-view mirror, the flashing blue and red lights erupted, accompanied by the sharp wail of a siren. Marcus frowned. Had he done something wrong? He signaled and pulled over to the side of the road, rolling down his window as the patrol car parked behind him. The officer who stepped out had a rigid posture, his uniform crisp, his expression unreadable beneath the brim of his hat. Officer Derek Vaughn was in his late 30s, with a square jaw and a demeanor that suggested he was used to being in control. "License and registration," Vaughn said, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth. Marcus nodded, reaching into the glove compartment for the documents. He handed them over without a word, his movements deliberate, careful not to make any sudden gestures. Vaughn took them, his eyes flicking between the paperwork and Marcus's face, as if searching for something. "You know why I pulled you over?" Vaughn asked, though his tone suggested it wasn't really a question. Marcus kept his voice even. "No, officer, I don't. You rolled through that stop sign back there." Marcus blinked. He was certain he'd come to a complete stop, but arguing wouldn't help. "I thought I stopped, but if you say otherwise, I'll take your word for it." Vaughn's eyes narrowed slightly, as if the lack of resistance unsettled him. He glanced down at the license again. "You're not from around here, are you?" "I moved here last year," Marcus replied. "S is on the license." Vaughn didn't respond right away. Instead, he seemed to be weighing something, his fingers tapping against the edge of the documents. The pause stretched just a little too long, and Marcus could feel the shift in the air. This wasn't about a traffic violation anymore. "Where are you headed in such a hurry?" Vaughn asked, his voice taking on a harder edge. "Just home," Marcus said. "Long day at work." Vaughn's lips twitched almost imperceptibly. "What kind of work do you do?" Marcus hesitated for only a fraction of a second. "I'm in legal compliance." Vaughn's eyes flicked over Marcus's suit, his polished shoes, the briefcase on the passenger seat. Something in his expression tightened. "Step out of the car for me." Marcus didn't move immediately. "Is there a reason for that, officer?" Vaughn's jaw clenched. "I won't ask again." The unspoken threat lingered between them. Marcus exhaled slowly, then opened the door and stepped out, keeping his hands visible. Vaughn gestured toward the hood of the car. "Hands where I can see them," Marcus complied, resting his palms against the warm metal. Vaughn began patting him down, his movements rougher than necessary, his hands lingering at Marcus's waist, his ankles. "You always this tense during a routine stop?" Vaughn muttered. Marcus didn't rise to the bait. "Just following your instructions, officer." Vaughn stepped back, frustration tightening his features. "Turn around." Marcus did, meeting Vaughn's gaze evenly. The officer's eyes were dark, unreadable, but there was something brewing beneath the surface, something Marcus recognized. "You seem awfully familiar with this process," Vaughn said, his voice low. "Got a record?" "No," Marcus said calmly, "but I know my rights." Vaughn's smirk was cold. "Rights don't mean much if you're hiding something." Marcus held his stare. "I'm not hiding anything. You've seen my license, my registration. You've searched me. If there was a problem, you'd have found it by now." Vaughn's patience was wearing thin. "You're real confident for a man pulled over on the side of the road." "Confidence isn't a crime," Marcus said. Vaughn took a step closer, invading Marcus's space. "It is when it sounds like disrespect." The tension between them crackled like a live wire. Marcus didn't back down, didn't flinch. He simply watched Vaughn, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, Marcus reached into his inner jacket pocket. Vaughn's hand flew to his holster. "Easy." Marcus moved deliberately, his fingers extracting a small leather wallet. He flipped it open, revealing a gold badge. "Marcus Wright," he said, his voice steady. "Deputy Director, Office of Professional Standards, Atlanta PD." Vaughn froze, his face drained of color. Marcus let the silence stretch, watching the realization dawn in Vaughn's eyes. This wasn't just a traffic stop anymore. This was a reckoning. "You've got a choice here, Officer Vaughn," Marcus said, his voice quiet but firm. "You can double down, try to spin this into something it's not, or you can take a step back and think real hard about what just happened." Vaughn's throat worked, but no words came out. Marcus closed the badge case and slipped it back into his pocket. "I'll be seeing you again, and next time it won't be on the side of the road." He didn't wait for a response. He simply turned, got back into his car, and drove away, leaving Vaughn standing there, the weight of his own actions settling over him like a storm cloud. The next morning, Marcus sat in his office, Vaughn's personnel file open in front of him. The complaints were minor, but they painted a pattern: escalations without cause, unnecessary stops, a habit of pushing boundaries. His assistant, Elena, knocked lightly on the door. "Chief wants to see you. Heard about last night?" Marcus nodded. Figured he would. Chief Reynolds was a broad-shouldered man with a no-nonsense demeanor. He leaned back in his chair as Marcus entered, his expression unreadable. "You could have called it in," Reynolds said, handled it quietly. Marcus shook his head. Quiet hasn't worked. Vaughn's not the first, and he won't be the last if we don't change how we do things. Reynolds exhaled heavily. "What are you proposing?" "A full audit, not just Vaughn, every officer with a pattern of complaints, new training protocols, accountability that doesn't get swept under the rug." Reynolds studied him for a long moment. "You're going to make a lot of enemies." Marcus met his gaze. Better than making the same mistakes. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Vaughn was suspended pending review, but Marcus's focus wasn't just on punishment, it was on prevention. He pushed for body cameras, mandatory de-escalation training, community outreach programs. At a town hall meeting a month later, Marcus stood before a packed room, officers and civilians alike watching him. "We don't serve the badge," he said. "We serve the people. And if we can't hold ourselves accountable, we don't deserve to wear it." The applause was loud, but Marcus didn't linger on it. This wasn't about applause. It was about change. And for the first time in a long time, he believed it was possible.